Hi, everybody. Welcome to Secular Jihadists from the Middle East. This is Ali Rizvi, and I am joined by Armin Navabi, who is the founder of Atheist Republic, the largest online platform for atheists in the world with 1.7 million followers, and the author of Why There Is No God. Armin, can everybody hear your voice?
Yes, hi. I love the intros you do. Much more than Faisal's.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Sound really good. He makes me the leader of ISIS and all that shit. He tells me
he gives you power.
No, he gives you like the white national whatever.
He does. I'm not going to expose your super style over here right now tonight.
Thank you.
Anyway. And also we have, as we always do, Yasmin Mohammed from Confessions of an Ex-Muslim, and her blog is confessionsofanexmuslim.com. She'll have a book with the same title coming out soon.
Actually, the book will be called From Al-Qaeda to Atheism.
Oh yes, From Al-Qaeda to Atheism. Okay, that's and there's a reason it's called that, and you should really read the book when it comes out and go to our blog and check it out to find out the story. It's an amazing story. Yasmin, hi, how are you?
I am very good. I'm pleased to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, wonderful. And also joining us, and who's going to be kind of like a guest host, and we're going to be talking to her about a whole bunch of things, is Ghada. And Ghada actually hails from Saudi Arabia. Ghada, welcome to Secular Jihadists.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're going to join the jihad today, at least for an hour.
Allahu Akbar.
Exactly. Yeah, so let's start off.
Bismillah. See, this is how you start, not Allah.
No, Allahu Akbar if it's jihad.
Yeah, we're Shia, so we say Bismillah Ali.
No, we say Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a reference to Obama's middle name, of course, as everybody knows. Anyway, so Ghada, welcome. So since this is your first time here, and we're very honored to have you here, and thank you for coming. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, just quickly, briefly, for the audience, and then we'll dive into our hot topic.
Maybe tell us about the talk that you did with Hiba and Sarah.
So
that was awesome. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I'm Ghada. I'm originally from Saudi Arabia. I left about 3 years ago. I'm an asylee in the United States. I have become more involved in ex-Muslim, events and the cause. The main reason I'm trying to do this is because of my experience with it and how it affects like families and tears them apart. And just recently, we were Sarah Hayder, Hiba, and I were in University of Colorado Boulder, and we gave a talk about Islam, feminism, and modesty, and it was well received. It was actually really well received, and I was actually pretty surprised that we only had like one heckler, pretty much. Two, actually, but I would like to lump them together as one heckler.
Was it, just out of curiosity, was it Muslim or SJW or neither?
Muslim.
Both of them.
I wouldn't call him an SJW. He was kind of an old man. And his
was
other
he the guy
old
who asked the
friend.
question at the end that you guys have the clip up of?
He asked a lot of questions, and he wouldn't stop talking.
Okay.
Obnoxious.
Of course, then you have three women sitting there presenting and talking about your faith, and oh my God, yeah, it's just blasphemy. But anyway, so today's topic is actually a very
before we continue, we forgot to mention our Khalifa. Our Khalifa is really sick today, so that's why he's not here joining us. Sorry, everybody, but
let's all pray for him.
Yes.
Right.
And hopefully he'll be joining us for the next episode. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Ali.
Yeah. Inshallah, Darwin. We have here, since this topic, I think I'm going to ask Yasmin, I'm going to request you to introduce it, since I think it's probably more personal for you than it is for any of us.
Oh, okay. So the topic of conversation today is Bill 62 in Quebec, which is being dubbed the Niqab ban or the Burka ban. And it is a law that was just passed by the Liberal government there, actually, that now says that nobody can cover their face while they are receiving any kind of public service. So this is causing a big brouhaha. because a lot of people are saying that this is discriminatory against Muslims. And now all these niqabi women are going to be forced to stay in their homes because they can no longer avail of public services. So that's the topic. I've been receiving a lot of questions about it. And so we thought we'd just do a live stream where we could answer all the questions and let everybody know our feelings on the topic. So I'll let somebody else take the mic now and give us their feelings. So Armin, what do you feel about this ban?
Okay. Should we let the guest? Okay, so it's hard to talk about these things without getting accused of like, oh, you're a man talking about women issues. Shut the fuck up. But
it's not a women's issue. It's a face covering for all genders.
I know. I'm just saying.
Or gender fluid.
Whenever I talk about the hijab, people come to me and tell me like, shut the fuck up. You're a man. But I tell them that it was men
came up with it. Yeah.
I tell them it was men that forced it on you. So men should take part in liberating everybody, and not just women. Anybody should be able to wear whatever the fuck they want, right? But the thing is that if this ban is actually about face covering and it's a security issue, then I'm all for it. The only thing that might make me be a little bit skeptical about it is that if it's only a niqab ban disguised as a security issue. Right? And I don't know which one it is, so I'm going to remain skeptical.
Oh, in fact, Armin, there is a clause in this law that says that if you have a religious reason, you can cover your face.
Oh, shit.
So it's specifically not a niqab ban. But people love to virtue signal, and people love to, you know how Canadians are, right? So this is just it's just like M103.
So wait, did we title this wrong? This is not even a niqab or burqa.
No, it's not, but it's clickbait.
Well, I mean, that's what it's being touted as. Like, and
that's what it's being touted as because people are full of shit. Same thing, like when they were talking about M103, and they're saying if you are against it, it means that you're a Nazi, Islamophobe, racist, bigot, whatever. People, they're lying in order to inflame the two sides of the conversation.
So
just to be clear, the clickbait. Oh, I'm sorry, Gada. Just before you go on, I'm just say this really quickly. The clickbait thing that we've titled, that's not it. It's people are all over the place calling this a burqa and veil ban, even though there's a religious exception. But Gada, please go on.
So let me get this straight. So you can still, under this clause, under this bill, you can still, get a public service even if you wear the niqab or the burqa under religious exemption.
Correct. So that's right. So the people that are against this ban are concerned that this religious exemption might be difficult to get. So they're feeling like it's still against, they just want to make the argument that this is specifically against Muslim women. The response is, it has nothing to do with religion. Anybody that covers their face, whether it's a man or a woman, you have to uncover your face in order to get public services. And in fact, if you have a religious reason for having to cover your face, then you can submit for, what's the word, you guys?
Exclusion.
Yeah, exactly. And so then they're like, yeah, but how do we know how easy that's going to be? And what if they make it difficult for them?
But this is the opposite of race. Actually, it is racist. It's the racism of lower expectations then.
Well, we should just rename the South Pole the North Pole. Like, just everything is just completely upside down.
No,
so why did they come up with a ban? What triggered it? What caused this thing to come? Did someone...
I mean, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what they have been talking about it for a very long time. And they were finally able to push it through. And there are groups that are not happy with it because they feel like it's not actually doing enough because it's too specific. And the fact that you can have an allowance because of religious reasons. So they're not happy with it. They're saying it's not going far enough. And then there are other groups that are saying, this is Islamophobia, blah, blah, blah. The point of the matter is it is a safety issue. You don't want Antifa walking around with balaclavas and causing trouble. You don't want anybody. You don't want a guy walking into a bank with a ski mask. You don't want people covering their faces. The government's main priority is to keep their citizens safe. And if people are going to be walking around covering their faces, what happens in Muslim majority countries very commonly, and Ghada, you can back me up on this, is it's criminals, obviously, will put on a niqab when they want to commit crimes, because then, you know, the cameras are rendered useless. Of course, eyewitnesses are useless, and then they can get away with crimes. And in Sweden just recently, sorry, just to continue, in Sweden just recently, there was a ban on soccer hooligans covering their faces when they go to games. So the soccer hooligans all put niqabs on, and they were like, what? What now? How do you like me now? Right? It's a very obvious thing. If you want to cover your face to get away with shit, you can, I mean, you're going to put a niqab on, right? If that is available for you to take advantage of.
So in Saudi Arabia, I think it was 3 years ago, there was an ISIS attack on a mosque, a Shia mosque in Dammam. And the guy was wearing the full niqab, and he did blow himself up. He was stopped before he was able to get into the mosque, because it was, for that particular day, the women's section was closed. So he was trying to get into the men's section. And he was noticed, and he was stopped by 3 just regular old guys, and they were all killed, all 3 of them.
Yeah. Somebody asked, one wonders if these people will equivalently support KKK masks. That's a very good question.
Well, no, they have to become a religion first. I say, no, never mind.
No, my point is, so you think all of these people that are yelling and screaming and saying that they should cover their faces, do you think that there would be people yelling and screaming and saying you should also allow white supremacists to be able to cover their faces?
No,
too?
because people are idiots. They think religion is special and everything else isn't. I suggest somebody like the Flying Spaghetti Monster people go out and say, like, make head coverings for the face coverings for their religion, or like the Jedi people, because they are official religions.
Well, I really don't think that it's just that. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the religion is part of it, but also because the KKK is officially a hate group, and they know it's a hate group. Yeah, but the thing is, Islam has a special treatment because it's a religion. I do believe it's a hate group, and it's pretty obvious when you read the Quran that it's a hate group, but it's a hate book. But it's not considered, I mean, the niqab, for example, is not considered as a form of hate. In my opinion, I do look at it as a form of hate. It's a form of segregation. It's a form of telling other people that you would rather live in a segregated society because you're covering your face from a specific group, men. And
that you're inferior.
Not necessarily that you're inferior, because, you know, growing up in Saudi Arabia, a lot of women wore niqab, and they didn't necessarily wear niqab because of religious reasons. Some of them did. I'm not going to say not all of them. But a lot of them, like my family members, they wore it because they wanted to conceal their identity, a lot like what Yasmin was saying. They didn't want not necessarily to commit crimes or anything like that, but they didn't want people to know who they are when they were out. And one of the reasons is because of the whole honor culture and the modesty culture, of course, is that, you know, a woman that is seen outside without a male guardian, or you know, being outside and doing her own thing is looked at as loose, or, you know.
But isn't that from religion? That honor?
Of course, it's all from religion. It's just that, you know, the whole idea of the niqab is to enforce this segregation between the sexes. Right. So when people, and one of the things I never understood is when people keep saying, like, oh, if you ban the burqa, then all of these women that are, you know, liberated by going out, they won't be able to do it. But the thing is, these women that are wearing the niqab, whether it's because, you know, the male family member, you know, imposed it on her, or if the society imposed it on her, or even if she chose to wear it, they're doing it as a way to segregate themselves from the rest of society. And they wouldn't feel any inferior or any different if they were forced to stay at home. And living in a country like in like Canada or anywhere in Europe where, you know, the law is on your side, if you decide that you don't want to wear it anymore and your society, your community, or your significant other, you know, makes you feel like shit for doing it, you can just fucking leave him.
Yeah, but the argument for them being forced to stay home doesn't make sense, because I mean, not, like the people that make that, because we're not suggesting that people should be forced to not wear their hijab. Like, none of us is suggesting that, right? Like, we just think that everybody should be able to not wear the hijab. We're not doing the Reza Shah thing where he made it illegal for people to wear the hijab. Nobody is suggesting that, right?
Yeah, and people are just saying, when I'm trying to give you a public service, I would like to look at this person that I am giving a public service to.
So here, what I have here is the actual language of this, and I'm reading an article about this in the Montreal Gazette, and it says that the reason the government says the bill respects the charter, because we have a charter here about human rights and non-discrimination, is because it provides an opportunity for individuals to invoke their faith as a reason to not be subject to the rules, as Yaz was saying, by requesting a reasonable accommodation.
Guys, we never played.
So, and what they're saying is that this accommodation must be serious, consistent with the right to equality between women and men, not impose any undue hardship on the rights of others, not compromise public health and safety, and be financially fair. So it's for people who wear niqab, who want to apply for this exemption, it's not a guarantee that it will be approved. They don't really have strict criteria, but what they will do is that they're going to look at it on a case-by-case basis, and it seems like what they're doing more than anything is more of a regulation than a ban.
That's right. It is a regulation. It's a little bit of a restriction.
Yeah.
And I totally support it. And people say some stupid things like, oh, since when does the government have the right to tell people? That's what the government does. It tells people what to do all day long. That's its job. I mean, if people are like, I don't like the niqab either, but I don't think we should be telling people not to wear it. Well, you know what? I like public drinking, but I can't just go down to the beach and drink because it's against the law. So it doesn't matter whether you like it or you don't like it. It's irrelevant. My personal feelings towards the niqab are irrelevant here, even though I absolutely hate it. But that's not the point. The point is that it is a security risk. We know it's a security risk. People call it Islamophobic. So is Egypt Islamophobic? Is Qatar Islamophobic? Tunisia, Morocco, all of these countries that also have restrictions on the niqab, are they somehow Islamophobic too? Right? The reason why there are restrictions on the niqab in all of these countries is because those countries have discovered that it's an incredible security risk to have people walking around with their faces covered in certain situations.
Right. So devil's advocate, what if somebody says, they are trying, this is an anti-niqab thing, but they're trying to squeeze it in by first including that exemption, and then once it gets passed, they slowly remove the exemption, and or
they start rejecting the applications for accommodation.
What?
Well, I think
if that's their aim, they're not doing a very good job.
No, but I think that they might be doing a good job, because they've tried to do this the whole time, and people talk about the charter and all this stuff. So now they're like, no, well, if you have a religious reason, then what we'll do is we'll allow you to apply for an exemption. Then you apply for an exemption, you'll be like, well, is this consistent with equality between men and women? Because that's one of the criteria. If it isn't, then be like, we're going to reject it. So you're not going to get the exemption. So it may be a more sort of insidious way to kind of get around that loophole in the charter. Insidious is probably the wrong word. Yeah, I wouldn't either. I'd probably
wouldn't you call it insidious if it was specific? Like, I'm not saying this is the case, but what if?
No, what I meant was clever.
I'm saying, what if it is insidious? What if these people don't have security concerns and they're actually trying to appeal to people that want the niqab ban, right? Like, would you be for it if you found out that was the reasoning behind it, and these people?
But it already is a security concern.
No, I know, but I'm saying hypothetically, if this was like the people that were doing it, their motivation was not security, their motivation was to appeal to people that want a niqab ban, would you support it if that was the reasoning?
I would support it.
Why?
Because to me, the niqab is an infringement on my right to know who I am speaking with, who I am dealing with, who I am exchanging goods and services with. I need to know who the person in front of me is. Yeah, they can give me...
Is that a right?
Yeah, it is a right. If it's a public service, it is a right. I need to know. That person has no right to come and get a public service if I don't know who that person is. And
no, but is it a legal right? That's what we're saying. Legally.
Maybe, okay, but they legally are not entitled to the rights of services unless they give me proof of their identification.
If somebody walked in with anything else covering their face and they said, hey, I'm here to pick up my check or whatever it is that they're here to do you think that there wouldn't be any problems? But it's the fact that this clothing that's covering their face is done in a specific way. That's what makes it different.
Because it's religious.
That's
because
unfair. We're a secular country, and the one law for everybody. There should not be this stupid religious accommodation anyway.
I agree with you guys, but I'm just saying if the motivation was not that we should all treat people equally, that's just the excuse that they're using to appeal to people that want the niqab, specifically the niqab.
I think that we're assuming the worst in people here when we say stuff like that.
Hypotheticals are for.
Yeah, I think that that's the problem, though. I think that kind of hyperbole is what's causing this.
Okay.
Conversation to go off the rails, is that people, like I'm reading tweets where people are saying things like, oh, you know, these people that are against the niqab, it's because they hate women, or sorry, against the people that are happy about the niqab ban hate women and they want them to be holed up in their houses. Like, that's complete bullshit.
And it's untrue completely, because women that wear niqab are doing it in order to segregate themselves from the society that is outside. They want to be known as, you can't see me, but I can see you. Only certain people can see me. Only women can see me. Only my husband, my children, and my father, and whatever it is, can see me. And that in itself is insulting to the other people around them. And, you know, it's not like the hijab where you can still see the person's face. You can still identify who they are. You can still, you know, it's with the niqab, it's completely taken out. Like, this person has no identity.
They're not a person.
It's not a person. Yeah, it's like no identity. I don't know who I am talking to.
So, Ghada, I have. Oh, sorry, Yaz, you want to finish?
I was gonna say two things. First of all, I wore the niqab for 5 years, and let's just dispel with the myth that niqabis are going around, you know, hanging out with their friends at the mall and the beaches. And that's just, I mean, please, if you're in a family where you are wearing a niqab, if that's the expectation, then you are probably never going to be leaving the house except for emergency purposes. I only left the house for prenatal visits once a month. If I wasn't pregnant, I probably wouldn't have even left the house. Well, I didn't in the other times. I didn't even get to leave the house once a month. Okay, so it's not like all of a sudden, because of this restriction, niqabis aren't going to be allowed to go around and live their life. They're already not living their lives. They're already part of an extremely conservative, fundamentalist, religious household. That's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing I wanted to say was, let's also dispel with the myth that this is even Islam. This is excessive alt-right Islam. Let's not forget that Muslim women don't wear the niqab when they're praying and in parts of Hajj. So that's 2 out of the 5 pillars of Islam already has restrictions on the Quran. So Islam is even worse than Quebec, because they're also putting restrictions specifically on the niqab, and they're not giving people accommodations.
Actually, in Hajj specifically, in Hajj, you cannot cover your face.
That's right. And the same thing with Salah, with prayer. You don't cover your face when you're praying unless you're in a situation where there are strange men, like men that are not muhram for you, men that you could marry, that they might be able to peep, you know, they might be able to see you. So then if you're in niqabi, you cover your face. Otherwise, if you're at home, take it off.
But then you're in Hajj, and then you can't cover your face, even though it's filled with so many.
Because men are pure there. That's why you don't have to worry.
But again, 2 out of the 5 pillars of Islam ban the burqa already.
Right, but is that like, because the thing is, one of the, is that a good argument to have, that, okay, well, this isn't even Islamic? I mean, if something is, because things can
why not?
Islamic.
No, because Islam is shit.
Is, when people start to say, this is, can we have a religious accommodation, or you guys are being Islamophobic against Muslims, it's like, no, this isn't against Muslims, because it's not even Islam.
Okay, so one question I had, Ghada, for you specifically, was you were talking about how, establishing identity unless you don't know who the person is. So we had the case again, and now I'm doing the Armin thing, the devil's advocate, because I mean, this is obviously you guys, you're the women who've worn the niqab. I obviously never have.
You're just mansplaining it to them.
I did
I've never worn niqab, but I've known so many women that do.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, so I actually did wear it once for a Halloween party where I was a nudist on strike. That was my official costume. Apart from that, I never have, but that was crap. I was like, I need to be nude, and I've never felt that ever, because me being nude is like, it's worse than terrorism. It's a public threat. Anyway, I'm digressing, but
oh no,
the point is, so we had really, yeah, I have to say the obvious. If you had you had the case of Zanera Ishaq a few years ago, right? This Canadian woman who was a permanent resident, then she went and applied for citizenship, and she was going in to do her citizenship oath, and she insisted that she wanted to have her face covered while she did it. The conservatives said, no, you shouldn't do this. The liberals said yes, and it became a big political issue. Ultimately, the courts over here ruled that, yeah, she should be allowed to cover her face. Here's my question. When it comes to identity, and my wife and I actually disagree on this, but my whole thing, what I asked my wife said that she should not be able to wear it. But I asked her, I was like, okay, what if she comes into the room, right? And when they're establishing everybody's identity and they're knowing who it is, they look at her face, they establish that this is the person who it is, they frisk her, make sure that there's no weapons and nothing, there's no security risk. Then she goes in, she's taking the oath, puts the niqab back on. Is that okay? Or
why did she put it back on again?
That's actually
what she
exactly
believes.
what happened, though.
She wants. That's exactly what happened. That's what she wanted. So they established her identity. They made sure she wasn't a risk. She came into the thing, and then she wore her niqab and she took the thing. But she wanted to take the oath as herself, and for herself, she actually chooses to wear the niqab.
So she's not even a Canadian yet, and she's already defying our laws.
Well, it's not, there's no law against it. She wasn't defying a law. That was the whole controversy, right? What she was doing was she was actually just wearing whatever she wanted to once she had established her identity and proven that there was no security risk. So in that kind of situation, what do you do? I mean, do you go with the whole individual liberty thing? I mean, there's clearly a woman who wants to do this, right? She's an adult of sound mind and faculty, debatable from our point of view, but still. And she wanted to go ahead and do this, and there was no security risk, and there was no identity problem. So what do you do here? What do you do in a situation like that?
I mean, that's essentially what happens in Saudi Arabia. And whenever you go through security, there's always like a female section where you go, it's completely covered, only the women can see you. The thing I would have against that is that, you know, when only one or two people can see who this person is to verify their identity, it's much easier to slip, you know? It's easier to bribe one or two people than to like bribe every single person that sees your face.
No, but I mean, these are people at the citizenship oath office.
That's
I mean, they're security
one very
officials.
specific case, Ali, and that can be a slippery slope.
I agree.
I think that's what Ed is saying.
I completely agree. It is
okay.
a complete slippery
I see your
slope.
point.
And not only that, I mean, why? I mean, I understand in her head she wanted to be in her own self and take the oath in her hijab and whatever, in her niqab, completely covering her face. But her picture on her passport is going to be showing her face.
Right.
So astaghfirullah.
So that doesn't make any sense to me. And the whole idea about banning niqab is so that these ideas wouldn't even be there. You would think that if you ban this kind of idea, that niqab is, you know, oppressive, it completely erases your identity, that people will just, the women will just, you know, be, like Yasmin said, restricted to their homes, and they would not have the freedoms that the West, you know, has for them. But that's not really true. I mean, it does get them to think. It does get them to start to question more and, you know, slowly deviate from this fundamentalist Islam that made them wear this hijab and this niqab, this burqa. And I had a friend when I was in Saudi, and she was a little bit more liberal Muslim than her family, even though her family made her wear niqab. And she would probably be the only person that I knew that wore niqab and actually let her personality shine. The people just knew who she was, even though she was completely covered from head to toe. People knew who she was just from her walk. but
Yeah.
but that's not because she wore niqab. It's because she is like that despite it, because she didn't want to wear it, but she had to because of her family. And people like that, if you ban the niqab, they're just going to take it off. They're not
You
going
give
to
them an
be...
opportunity.
yeah, exactly. You give them the opportunity to defy their families, because now they can go out. Now they can be their true selves.
Yeah, I think that's one of the strongest arguments in favor of it. That there are the just the idea that the majority of people wearing it, even in the West, are doing it because of their families. There are some exceptions, obviously. I actually personally know a woman.
After yes, I have a devil's advocate.
Yeah, I have actually personally know a woman who chose to wear it, even though her parents were very liberal. They weren't upset. They were actually weren't approving of it. They're really pissed off. They're like, our daughter's gone completely fundamentalist, and why is she wearing it? So there are those cases as well.
Yeah, there's also a case of a grown woman that decided that she wanted to undergo female genital mutilation.
Yeah,
that's a good counter.
And that's fine if you want to go ahead and do that kind of thing to yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you can't do that to your child, so you can't put.
Yeah. So my issue here is when people say, "Oh, people choose to wear the niqab." Yeah, of course they do. People choose to also, cut off their daughter's clitorises. Abraham chose to almost kill his child. Religious people will do whatever the fuck for their religion. They're not choosing it.
My view on this is that even if you zoom out and you just look at it, this is the act of being religious. If you're a woman and you choose to be religious, I mean, that itself is self-oppression anyway. So
if you're a human and you choose to be religious, that's self-oppression.
So when the Burka Ban thing happens, I always ask them, like, well, should we ban people from being religious too? Because they don't really choose.
No, but we have laws in place that ban certain things. And we can't say, oh, but people choose to do that. That makes no sense. It's like saying you can't murder people. No. But it's their right because they chose to murder that person. So we can't stand in their way. I don't give a flying fuck what people choose to do. People choose to do stupid things every day.
Can I say something? But even if you choose to do this, even if you choose to wear the burqa, and it's your complete choice, and you're not some sort of extremist Muslim idiot, but you still want to wear the burqa, okay, then accept the consequences. You can't leave your house.
Well, okay, devil's advocate to that. Reza Shah tried to do that, and it fucking backfired in the form of an Islamic revolution. What I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but he did it in a hijab way, not niqab.
No, and we're saying it's for safety reasons. We're not saying I'm not saying people that are choosing to be Muslim that we want to stop them from doing that. No,
he wasn't doing that. He was going and he said, like, you can't be having a hijab in public.
Sure. Yeah. That's okay. We know that the same thing happened in Turkey too, I think.
Not as extreme, but something like that. Yeah.
But my point is, for him to do that was just anti-Islamic. The things that we're talking about are anti-safety, anti-child abuse. Like, we have a value system already in place.
So you want equality. You're not saying go after Islam, but we are going after. Okay, so actually we are.
But if it happens to go after Islam, then so be it. But
you're saying it's fair. If it's fair to ban Islamic things because it's banning everything equally and Islam is just being in the line of fire.
Well, no, I'm saying we should ban unsafe and dangerous things. And if it happens to be part of Islam to do those unsafe and dangerous things, I don't give a fuck.
I agree with you completely on that, right? And that's the fair way of doing it. And Reza Shah was going after Islam, banning Islamic thing, whether it was safe or unsafe. But the thing is that our approach to go after Islam with regards to things that are still safe is to educate people rather than tell them you can't be Muslim, right? When it comes to things, when it comes to banning things that are Islamic, we ban it not because it's Islamic. We ban it because it's the right thing to do, right?
And it's because of security risk, and it's because it's also an insult to the people that are around you.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. But it's the right thing to do. We don't give a shit that it's Islamic. We can't have this in a civilized society. it's whether it's Islamic or not, it's irrelevant. But when we go after banning Islamic thing specifically because it's Islamic, we don't do that. In that situation, we think educating people is way more effective than what Ataturk or Reza Shah tried to do.
Okay,
yeah, and I think, yeah,
Right.
go ahead.
I have something to add, and it's the reason I believe these bans have been coming out is that before, it was common sense. If you're going to go into a bank, for example, you're not going to be wearing a baklava or a ski mask or whatever. I mean, I went to a bank once, and I was just wearing my sunglasses, and the lady behind the counter was so afraid and and kept looking at me as if I was just going to rob her. And then I realized I still had my my sunglasses on, and she told me, "Please remove your sunglasses," and I did. So it was before this whole migration to the West or like the extremism of Islam, and like when a lot of Muslims started not just being regular Muslim, but they wanted to be like super duper Muslim 9,000. That's when this whole niqab thing came out. Came out because a lot more women started wearing them. And now it's become more of a norm because in a lot of these places, they expect to get a service without having to show their identity, like going to the bank, going to like use a credit card for a large purchase, something like that.
Mm-hmm. I want to kind of go back and just bring in that element of choice, and that's where I slightly disagree with you, Yaz, is that I think the choice aspect, I mean, obviously you're talking about the choice to murder people and everything, and that's inflicting harm, like physical harm on other people. But I think choice is the most important thing, that being able to choose not to wear the hijab, being able to choose not to wear the niqab, being able to choose what you believe, what you don't believe. And if somebody wants to wear it, say in the privacy of their own home, or when they're not receiving a public service, and that's why I'm a bigger fan of words like regulation. Don't do it to kids. Kids should not be allowed to wear the niqab. You should not be allowed to put a niqab on your kid, circumcise your kid, female genital mutilation, nothing. None of that should happen to kids. You shouldn't be able to do it, when you're receiving a public service. Okay, you should have to establish your identity on all the cases that Ghada's talking about. But I'm just uncomfortable with the term ban, because whenever I hear ban, that sounds authoritarian. That actually
regulation is a ban. I don't understand the difference.
No, regulation isn't. It's not a blanket ban. There's blanket bans and there's regulation.
Yeah, but it's still a ban. If you
but anyway, can we just go back to the choice thing, because it is a regulation. Yeah. It's not a ban. Okay, so that's that.
Right. So that's why I want to
ban. It's just it's semantics, but that's not actually what it is.
But the reason it's a significant difference. For example, you talked about the public drinking thing. There's no ban on drinking.
There is.
There's
public
a ban on drinking.
These are legal terminology. The difference is not important.
Yeah, right? no, but the difference is important, because when you're banning drinking, right? You don't have a prohibition like you did in the U.S. like many decades
public
ago.
Drinking.
Right. There's no ban on drinking, but it's regulated. You can't do it in public. There's no ban on being obscene or swearing when you're broadcasting, but there is. It's after 10 p.m. There's certain hours when you have free speech.
Okay, but Ali, who's telling you that it's a ban?
No, when people talk about it, should we ban the burqa or not? I think the answer should be no. But if people say that should you regulate where you can wear the burqa, where you can wear the face veil or not, I think you should say yes, you should regulate. And I think that's
what this conversation is about. This conversation is about Bill 65 in Quebec, which is a restriction on the niqab. It's not a ban.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the overall.
So wait, during Halloween, what's going to happen in Quebec? Is it people can't wear masks anymore?
Yes, that's also part of it. You can't, if you're going to wear a mask, cover your face in any way. You have to show it if you're going to get any kind of public service. But back to the point of choice, Ali, I still don't understand what part we disagree on, because what I'm saying is, I don't care if she chose to wear the niqab or if she's being forced to wear the niqab. It's irrelevant to me. If the law says you can't cover your face, then you can't cover your face. It makes no difference to me whether she chose it or not. But to you, it makes a difference?
No. If the law says that you can't cover your face, obviously you can. But right now, the law doesn't say that. Right now in Quebec, it does.
When you're getting a public service, you cannot cover your face in Quebec.
No, I'm talking about in all of Canada. Are you still allowed?
This is just Quebec.
This is just Quebec. This is not federal yet. This
Okay.
is provincial.
No, I understand. I'm saying that in the rest of Canada, right? In the rest of Canada, in most of the US, you're allowed to cover your face under certain circumstances and not under others, right?
Right.
So there are places, I mean, I've seen people who go on buses, if they're, you know, in the winter, they have ski masks on, all you can see is their eyes. I mean, people are allowed to do that. So if the law says you're allowed to do that and someone chooses to do that with the niqab, do we allow it? Or do
Well, of course, we have no choice but to allow it.
Okay,
If
so
there's
there you
no-
go. Then we're on the same page.
Yeah, we don't have an army, so we can't do it. But going back to what Ghada said, I want to ask her a question because she said this: the hijab doesn't make women inferior, but I argue that it does because
I never said that. When did I say
no,
that?
you said because women choose like okay, maybe
they don't feel that they're inferior.
Oh, they don't feel, but you do agree that even if they don't feel it, this does put them in a position of inferiority.
I was forced to wear hijab since I was 9 years old, and I felt inferior the second that it was put on me.
Right. I mean, imagine if people had made, you know, having, you know, slave collars fashionable for men, and like people's like, yeah, wear this, and people are like, no, fuck you, I'm not gonna for black men and women, right?
I completely agree with you. I mean, it's one of those things that you know, I hate to say the word trigger, but it really does trigger like a PTSD in me whenever I see these like fashionistas that are wearing hijab and like they're with their makeup and their like extravagant dresses. The whole idea of hijab is not what you're doing. You're now making it a fashion accessory. Mm-hmm. And why not just, as like you said, why not like put shackles and like what's not on, you know, black people and make it like, because that's what it was, like slaves, you know, like slavery is now fashionable. Just like hijab is fashionable, niqab is fashionable,
and actually it's pretty much the same because the whole idea of hijab is that women are property, and you're trying to protect your property from other men, right?
Exactly. So yes.
It's basically a sign of ownership.
It sure is.
Yeah, and other women that are celebrating it, the fact that they're celebrating it doesn't make it any less bad because basically they're celebrating women being property. That's what they're celebrating. So if all of a sudden if all of a sudden some black people, you force them to wear shackles, but then some other black people are like, oh, but I like my shackles, that we don't use that as an argument to say like, well, this is okay.
Well, you would be surprised because there have been well, I'm pretty sure you know this, but during, you know, when slavery was still around, there were black people that were against even the liberation. They were against the abolition of slavery.
There were women that were against women getting the vote.
That too. So, I mean, there are people, we will always find these people that are an aberration. They're not the normal. They're not the average Joe or Muhammad or Fatima that you will meet. They'll be like a certain type, like these hijabis that are going out and saying, my hijab liberates me, or the niqabi that says, you know, I feel my true self when I'm wearing my niqab. These are not like, you know, Yasmin when she was wearing the niqab back in 2001. That's not her.
That's like a black man saying, I feel my true self as a slave. That's my nature. That's what it would sound like to me.
Yeah, so it's, exactly. But to these people, to these ridiculous, liberal-minded, misguided regressives, they think that this is not the same because this is more, because they really do believe these fashionistas that wear hijab or the one niqabi that they met that had a beautiful personality. And I know that niqabi that has a wonderful personality. She doesn't want to wear the niqab.
Yeah, my mom, whenever we traveled outside of Iran, as soon as the plane landed, she would take off her hijab and we'd be like, yay, mommy gets to be free like the rest of us for a little bit until we go back home.
That's how I felt every time I left Saudi. It was the most liberating thing in the world. And the first thing I did when I was in the car crossing, after I crossed the causeway from Saudi to Bahrain, was I took off my hijab and I threw it. And I was like, and I told my friend that took me to the airport, like, I don't know, I don't care what you do with it. You can burn it, you can throw it in the garbage. I just don't want it anymore.
We see those pictures of all those videos of all those women being liberated from ISIS cities, and this like amazing. I mean, Yaz has one that she presents at every talk. That's incredible.
And
But
there was also the feminist revolution in Kuwait, where women took off their veils and burnt them
Yeah.
in the streets.
Yeah. Yaz, I had a question for you.
Mhm.
Is this so? Back when you used to wear this, when you used to wear the niqab and the burqa, was there any at that time? Because I'm not doing. I'm trying to do the math on how long ago it was. Was there any discussion, public discussion about the bans on the niqab or burqa, or did that come later?
No, there was no public discussion at all. In fact, even after I left him, I still had the niqab on for a while because you sort of get conditioned to wearing it. It's really, it's like any other piece of clothing, right? So I felt like if I just stopped wearing it, I felt like I would, it's like going around topless, right? You're just used to being covered up. So for all these years, so taking it off, it was not, I didn't do it in just one fell swoop.
No. But if
So
there was
after I left
discussion,
him-
and oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say after I left him, I would drive. I would borrow my mom's car and I would drive with this niqab on. And I knew it was really dangerous. I didn't want to drive with my daughter in the car because I was like, I'm gonna get in an accident. I can barely see. And cops would look at me and I'm like, oh shit, this is it. Now I'm gonna get pulled over because I have no peripheral vision. And they would just kind of look at me and then keep going. Nobody said a word to me. I got away. Yep.
That's such a very good point. I never thought about it. You can't
Yep.
see. So that's the most important place to check.
Yep. And
that's
it's, you're like a horse with blinders. It's like,
Oh my God.
you know how they have now on The Handmaid's Tale where the women have to wear those bonnets so that they only see what's in front of them? I mean, there's this picture online going around where there's this man, he's tying the shoelace of his niqabi wife, and people are like, oh, mashallah, look how beautiful that is. And I'm like, no,
she
you
can't
fucking
see.
moron.
Right.
Exactly. She can't see her shoes. That's why he has to
Do you know
do it for
anybody that says, "Oh, you look so good in hijab," and like, well, then it's not working. But then
Exactly.
the whole
It's not
point of
working.
hijab is for you to not look pretty, so you're not attractive. And like, oh, you look much
Exactly,
better in
which,
hijab.
I mean,
which
well, then
makes
it's
the
not doing
whole
its job.
hijab fashionistas, which makes the whole hijab fashionistas and like beauty consultants and whatnot just completely
garbage.
ridiculous.
And they wear it so loose so that you can see their earrings and whatever. It's like, what are you
It's on
doing?
the Nike symbol.
Take it off.
Yes. Yeah.
Take it
but-
off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
I was
guys, if you had, so if there was a discussion like that, and everybody was talking about we need to ban the face cover and everything, and at that time when you were wearing it,
Yeah.
and you had the mindset that you did at that time,
Yeah.
where you said it would be like being topless and all that,
Yep.
and if that conversation was going on, if you can put yourself, I hate to do this, but if you can put yourself into that mindset, how would you have reacted to this conversation? Or
It would have made zero difference in my life because I never left the house anyway.
Oh, so you would have just, but so if they banned the niqab or the veil, then you.
Well,
oh,
it's
okay,
not
then.
a ban. It's a restriction in public spaces or in public when you're receiving public services.
Yeah.
So the only time, I mean, it would never, there would be never be a situation.
Mhm.
I mean, people talk about, oh, now these niqabis can't take the bus anymore. It's like, when have you ever seen a niqabi riding the bus on her own? Her man is driving her, or
Yeah.
her mahram of some sort is driving her wherever it is that she needs
So
to go.
let's move out of Quebec for a second and look at the whole burkini thing. Remember the whole burkini thing that you had in France?
hmm
What do you think about that? Something like
Again,
that.
I would never have been on the beach in the first place. There's no way I would have been allowed to wear a burkini. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, your whole
And
body.
once that thing gets wet and it sticks to your body,
Yeah,
You
and
can see
no,
the
it's not
outline.
just you
Before
with
wearing
your
a burkini.
niqab. It was me, like me with my mother, for example. She would, when I started taking scuba diving lessons, she criticized me so much for doing that because she said, the scuba diving suit was like the wetsuit is too revealing.
Tight.
It shows, yeah, exactly. It's too. Of course, I didn't give a shit because I was already an atheist at the time, and I still went and got my my.
You were an atheist when you were in Saudi?
Yeah.
See, this is so good because people think that we get brainwashed when we come here. We
No.
became an atheist when we were already there.
Yeah, I was there. I became an
Yeah.
atheist. I started reading Surah An-Nisa in the Quran and like, what the fuck
What
is
the
this?
That's good. Yeah.
That's kind of what did it for me too. Yeah, it's just the women thing, the misogyny thing. That's what did it for me.
That's-
'Cause my
that's-
mother's a university professor. And
My mother is
mother-
a doctor. And
Yeah,
I went
yeah.
to her and I was like, Mom, why does this say that men can discipline their wives, but women can't discipline their husbands?
Mhm.
And she didn't really have a convincing argument. So I was like, okay, I guess this is bullshit. I'm just going to ignore this part, continue.
Yeah,
No, I used to be,
actually,
like my mom was once we were at a store and her hijab her head cover slipped a bit, and this guy came with a stick, the mutawa, the the
fuck.
promotion of the
God.
mutawas in Saudi Arabia, the religious police, and he came and he had a stick, and they hit women in public if something like that happens, and he was about to hit her on the head, and then she just turned around, she started yelling at him, and then I was like, this mutawa, this guy, he looked like he was barely literate, and my mother has got
They're usually either in the religious police. They're usually like
taking that stick and shove it up his ass.
they're usually like reformed criminals. They're usually,
that's something I didn't know.
so the
Why?
thing is in Saudi Arabia is when you go into prison, you can get a lower prison sentence if you memorize the Quran. And the more you memorize the Quran, your sentence becomes lower, and then afterwards there's a rehabilitation. No,
can I memorize?
memorizing
the Quran is that's like a sentence in itself.
Yeah, like no,
I'd be like, I'll take an extra.
There are like if you think like other Muslim countries are ridiculous for what they do to promote Islam, you should go to Saudi and just you lived in Riyadh. I've only been there a few times. And I hated every single time I was there.
Oh yeah, it's even more insane than Tehran.
Yeah, so one time I was there, and my friend drove me to a parking lot of this building, and he's like, "Tada, look up there, look at what it says," and it was not a ministry, but it was like an organization for the scientific miracles of the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That's the whole building.
Actually, you know what?
These are government employees. These are government employees that research on a daily basis the scientific miracles of the Quran.
Oh my god!
No, there are people. They actually got Keith Elmore, who's one of the world. Remember Ben Carson, who's running for the presidency again. Mm-hmm. So Ben Carson is an absolutely brilliant pediatric neurosurgeon, but he is just an idiot when it comes to everything else. So Keith Elmore is one of the world's leading embryologists. When I was in medical school, we read his book a lot, but they actually got him in Saudi Arabia to write a book with Quranic ayahs talking about embryology.
I do remember that. I do remember that because they taught us that in school. Anyway.
Yeah. By the way, my mom got arrested once. This was early after the revolution, and she got arrested because her head covering was red. So they found it too colorful.
For Allah.
Yes. Yeah, and her sentence was to go to mandatory lecture to purify her, and the lecturer was asking them, sisters, why would you do this? Why our young men, they have sacrificed so much for this revolution, they have bled for us, and why would you try to tempt them like this? Why can't you be a good Muslim? By the way, this is early after the revolution. Right now in Tehran, most hijabs are colorful, but
I've seen them. I've been to Tehran a number of times.
But back then, you couldn't wear hijabs too colorful, you get arrested. But my mom had a really good comeback. She said, "No, sister, you don't understand. My hijab is red in the honor of the blood that they sacrificed."
The Imam Hussein. I used to wonder about that as a kid. I'm like, when you're in Muharram, when we're supposed to mourn the Hussein's martyrdom or whatever it was, then they're like, you shouldn't wear red because it's a happy color. I'm like, all of their blood was red, and the whole thing is about
not for Hussein, for people that died in Iraq, and for the people that died during the revolution. That blood, that's more precious to Iran right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go.
I was going to say, back to your question, Ali, about how I would have felt if this ban if it actually was a ban, and if it did happen in my city, I would be like that person that Ghada was describing, where I would be grateful. I'd be like, oh, good. So I have no choice. I have to take it off. Is part of the reason. I mean,
I feel like most people would probably be like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no statistics on these things. We're guessing.
That's the problem. We need to do.
Well, the thing is, you guys, it's really, all you have to, I mean, either you said you wore it for one night or something like that, but when you wear the full niqab with the gloves and the socks and everything, it restricts every single one of your senses. You can't, your hearing is muffled.
Wow.
Your sense of smell is muffled. Your sense of touch is muffled. Your sense of sight is there's an impediment. Every single part of you is somehow muffled. There's nothing that I can imagine that's more restrictive.
It's like your mobile prison.
It is a mobile prison, and you wear it because you feel like if you don't wear it, you're going to burn in hell for eternity. So really, compared to burning in hell for eternity, I would rather wear this.
And speaking of burning in hell, it was fucking hot inside that thing on that Halloween party too.
Yes, it is fucking hot inside that thing.
I was at my brother's place in Kitchener. That's where the party was, and I was telling him, I was like, dude, can you turn up the air conditioning? He's like, it's freezing. Like, it's October. What are you talking about? And then I was like, I couldn't wait to take the thing off because it's so hot.
And that's Canada. I mean, imagine being in Saudi Arabia.
Well, there was a time where I just remembered I wore niqab, but it was more of a like sexual fetish thing.
Oh, that's
the problem. See, that's what ends up happening.
Actually, that's what happens. That happened to me too.
That's the only reason I'm defending it a little bit, right?
Oh
Yeah.
my god!
No,
wear it in your home.
When
Fine.
Actually, even if I like certain types of hijab, but I would never ask Charlene to dehumanize herself with something like that because I know what it stands for. But because if for 12 years you see all girls, because all the time in a certain type of hijab, then you associate girls with that, right? So
yes.
So that's why your mind goes like, this is feminine, and so. And even some trans people, they wear the hijab because they associate, even if they don't have to, because they think, well, this is what being female is, right? So that's the problem. I mean, but yes, even if you, like you pointed out, even if you find people that, I really want to wear this, right? Even if you find statistic that's half woman or big portion, I'm not saying that's true or not, but I say, like you said, it doesn't make it any better because it's a choice, but it kind of isn't, because if you've been brainwashed to accept this as a child, right? Or if you're wearing it because of a fear of not the punishment in this life, but in the next life, then it's not really a choice, is it? Right?
Yeah, and whenever somebody tries to say it's a choice, that's why I always say, have you ever seen a non-Muslim woman make that choice?
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, and not just for an event. Not just for a rally or something.
Fetish.
Like continuously, not continuously wear it. Like,
but I gotta say,
that's a very fair point. That's a very
converts.
good point.
Remember,
they wear it because their God compels them to, because their religion compels them to, because they feel like that's what's going to get them to heaven. They don't wear it just because it's like deciding, I want to wear a jean jacket, or I want to wear a leather jacket, I want to wear a burqa. No.
Yeah.
People don't just wear it out of choice.
And any suggestion that this is modesty and this is the right thing to do is basically slut-shaming anybody that doesn't.
That's another part of it. That is exactly another part of it.
That's a problem. Like they're talking about objectification. We shouldn't objectify women and put them in. Wearing a niqab, covering a woman up is objectifying her.
Exactly.
And niqab has levels too, right? Even if you're not wearing the kind of niqab that starts up here and it just goes down like a tent, if you're wearing the kind that actually has like buttons, or it's like tight around your body and you can still see the shape of your body. Exactly. Even
buttons. Buttons is forbidden in Islam. In fact, Islam is forbidden in Islam.
Because it has to be loose. It has to drape. It can't be fitted.
In Iran, the Basij will go around like, sister, I can see the curves in your body. Like, well, look the fuck away.
No, you're not supposed to look away. The thing is with men, yeah, sure, fine. Like, look down or, don't look away. But the woman has to make an extra effort to cover her body so the men can look away.
You know, this whole idea of men being not being able to control themselves, you know, but this hijab thing has made men not being able to control themselves, because they're like,
I know.
yeah, because they say like, oh, sisters, if you knew what men think in their minds, you would wear more than hijab. You would wear like an iron armor or something. That's what you wear. Like, that's, men are so disgusting. This is for your protection. But no, if you know what, men become so disgusting if you separate them for 12 fucking years and you don't get to see girls ever for, you know, for most of your teenage life, then you're creating those kind of men that you're trying to avoid.
Yeah, the thing is, like, when you know, I came to the United States for the first time on a scholarship, and when we come to the US, and even before that, they give us an orientation, you know, for the people that are going to probably get culture shocked, and a lot do. And the first thing they tell men is, you know, the whole idea of consent, and that, you know, here women have rights. So they actually say that women here have rights.
Yeah, they should say that. This is I mean, there's no you can be all politically correct about it, but that's actually something. Norway does that. A lot of other sort of people who bring in immigrants and they have to sort of acculturate them to the local culture. You have to tell them that.
Yeah, because
a lot of men actually, it's a very alien concept.
It's not only that. I mean, for them, I mean, they see a woman that is not wearing hijab, they think that she's fair game. So let's go after her. And this has happened to a lot of men that come from, you know, oppressive societies. They come to the U.S., you know, and this is probably the first woman that he has met that is not his mom, sister, or aunt or grandmother. And then,
no, aunts and uncles are haram.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the first woman that he's seen that is not
his aunt. That's what she's saying.
That is not his aunt, his mom, his.
Yeah, but you can't see your aunt without hijab, Islamic.
No, you can.
Not according to us.
Really?
No, it is, dude. What are you talking about?
Wait, you're all Shia. What are you talking about, Armin?
What are you talking about?
Anybody that you can't marry, you can't marry your aunt.
Dude, what are you talking about? Like, I grew up in the most restrictive Shia.
She's married.
Maybe I'm cousins for sure. You can't.
Yeah, because you can marry your cousin.
Yeah, okay, you can't marry your aunt or uncle.
It's been years. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know my Sharia, guys.
Dude,
we actually had to wear it, so that's why we know.
Yeah, and not only that, it's because, you know, I was kind of forced into learning about the religion because my mom thought the more I would learn about the religion, the more religious I would become.
Yeah, but the opposite is true. Yeah.
So Islam doesn't recognize creepy uncles?
No, they doesn't recognize creepy uncles.
There's no concept of creepy in Islam.
Yeah,
the whole thing is creepy. Like the whole thing, it's invented by, you know, people who had like 11 wives and, you know, marrying 9-year-olds, and caliphs and imams who were all men who had multiple wives, and they were, I mean, they're doing. It was
invented by a guy that added a whole verse in the Quran that permitted women to come and offer themselves to him.
Yeah. That's the only divorce, by the way. That's the only way a woman can initiate a divorce, if you gift yourself to Muhammad. So. Sorry, he's dead now, so you don't have any chance to divorce him.
So I have a theory.
Alive in my heart.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I don't have a heart. I don't know what I'm talking about. That was a joke.
I have a theory about the sexual repression you were talking about, Armin. This is my theory. My theory was Muhammad was thinking, if we cover up the women as much as possible, if we segregate the men from women, and if we don't let boys see other women, touch other women, not others, don't let boys see women or touch women or ever have any sexual encounters, then they're going to be even more motivated to kill themselves to get 72 virgins.
I think you're giving Muhammad way more credit than he deserves, because Muhammad was like Trump. He was just solved every verse that came down. He was just trying to solve the problem that he was facing at that specific time.
Yeah,
right?
it would conveniently
Muhammad is like Trump.
Yeah, like
Muhammad is
worse.
Right. The revelations were like his tweets. It's actually perfect because anytime a shitty situation shows up and he wants to divert from it, he's like, saying that Aisha cheated on me. Well, okay, here's the verse saying that she didn't. Fuck you.
People yelled at him, verse came that don't speak like that to the
Yeah.
prophet.
So true.
So
I have a feeling that
whole verse about this head covering, he didn't, Muhammad didn't care what happens 1400 years after he died. He just solving situations.
He actually thought that the Qiyamah was going to happen right after he died. He was that
right, and even
naive
after
and dumb.
while he was dying, Abu Bakr and Osman and all
you
those
didn't know
people
about the carbon cycle, guys.
wait,
Just wanted to. Yeah.
Muhammad, they weren't letting him write down his successor, so he thought this whole thing was fucked after he dies. He said like, oh, the Muslim community, so he thought this whole thing.
He did assign a successor. It was Ali ibn Abi Talib.
Yeah, but he was trying to. Abu Bakr didn't let him.
Here we go.
Yeah, Aisha was around and they weren't letting him. Like, he asked for pen and paper. People said, like, Aisha, like, no.
Wait, wasn't he, according to the Sunnis, an illiterate that can't read or write? Why was he asking for a pen and paper?
That's a good question. That's a fucking good question.
Maybe he was illiterate sometimes. He was partly part-time illiterate.
He would ask.
All I know is that if he was around in the time of Twitter, Muhammad, then he would be hashtagging every one of his tweets with hashtag just saying. Like, just saying.
He was
Gabriel,
cover your ass up.
Kafirun's are fake news. But yes, to respond to your question, this whole verse about covering wasn't even about a fucking veil. It was about his wives and his house. People kept on coming to his house, and his wives, he had so many girls running around, and he was like, Omar was like, dude, these Medina people have no shame. They seeing your wives like we're running around naked and laughing, and it's so embarrassing. So he was like, there needs to be a covering between my wives and anybody else that comes to my home. So that was
mine.
Yeah, that is mine. Like, no one can. So he was talking about. So this was not even about head covering. This was like the word apparently is the same. So this was like.
You know what it is? It's like, how men have this primitive sort of physical power where they're more muscular and supposedly physically stronger than women. The one thing that men are weak when it comes to women is the whole sexuality aspect. So in order to try to skew that power differential, so the physical power, like when you do hard labor, it's an amazing thing, and you're a strong man who's using his labor and his talent to do it. Like, when women use their sexuality for anything or express sexuality in any way, you tamp it down, and that allows males to be superior. And that happens right from Mary, the mother of Jesus. So she's innocent and pure and chaste because no penis ever came near her. God forbid a penis came near her. God forbid her vagina was a two-way street instead of just
one way.
It was only one way. That's what.
Yeah. So Mother Mary should have told Jesus, your penis was the only one that went through me.
Right. So then now suddenly. Well, actually, that's true. Jesus' penis was really the only penis that was ever in Mary's vagina. It's true. He's stating a fact. If she gave birth to him, then
yes,
Jesus,
I get it.
Yeah, we know how it works.
Yes,
even and it was uncircumcised because the holy prepuce is missing to this day. People are looking for his foreskin. Everybody go on Wikipedia and look up the holy prepuce.
Yeah.
In any case. So it's the same thing. So obviously, if you've ever been touched by a penis, you're impure and stuff. Muhammad, by the way, was born pre-circumcised. Did you guys know that? He was born without a foreskin. It's a fucking miracle.
What?
What a miracle! Damn.
And his heart was washed with snow by angels. Did you guys know that?
Washed with snow in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, no, the angels brought it from heaven. When he was a kid,
probably well, we've had a lot of global warming, so
no, they cut his chest open. They wash the devil's mark. Like everybody has like a devil's mark on their heart, but except Muhammad, because two angels came and took his heart out, and they washed it with the snowy-like substance, and they put it back.
Did you see that? Did you see 1400 years ago the Quran predicted heart transplantation?
There you go.
There you go. Science, miracle. Quranic miracles.
They're probably talking about it in that place that you passed, Vada.
I'm pretty sure they are. They're probably like right now sitting there. It's probably about this time when they start their workday.
Guys, can I give you an opposite story to what we're talking about, like an opposite example of this, like in Iran? Is it okay? Just quick story. By the way,
we're both very, very conscious right now. I just have to break because the thing is, we're talking about Niqab, and you guys have been.
Fuck that bullshit. I can talk about whatever I want.
No, I'm a little conscious.
I don't.
You
No,
misogynist pig.
my penis doesn't stop me from talking about things that I want to talk about. Anyways, so
When has a penis ever stopped anybody from talking?
exactly, and I'm not gonna
Using his penis
start
as
now.
a
Mansplaining.
Yeah, I'm gonna mansplain anything I want.
hey, all of Islam is mansplaining anyway. But
Yeah,
go
yeah,
on.
and actually, I would tell people if man fucked this whole shit up, they should be part of the cleaning up crew too, right? So, anyways,
Penises, cleaning up. Like, okay, go on. Yeah, go ahead. Finish what you were
right.
saying.
So my mom was in a bank in Tehran, Upper Tehran, in Shemran area, and this woman comes in and she's in the full chador, which means she's really religious, and she's talking to the tellers at the bank, and nobody's answering her question, and then like she keeps being ignored, and then all of a sudden my mom grabs her hand, goes to the teller, and like, can you please answer a question? She's been asking you guys for a whole long time, nobody's answering, and finally a teller so rudely answers her, and then does her serves her, and then she leaves, and then my mom is like, why are you guys so rude to her? And everybody at the teller like, these fucking religious people, they ruined our country, they don't deserve anything less. Do you guys, so basically in Iran, if woman was being discriminated against because she was more like she was wearing the chador, by the way, anyone that's wearing the chador is probably like signaling that I'm more religious, like than the rest of you. But would you say that the tellers there were discriminating and that was the wrong thing to do? Like, given go on, sorry.
I think it would be an assumption, like they made an assumption that she was religious, so she could be, in the end, just a byproduct of it. I mean, before the revolution, the places, I mean, most Shia and Muslims were not that into religion. They were like, Shialite,
But they had more respect for it before the revolution.
I don't know, to be honest. I wasn't alive before the revolution, so I can't really comment on that. But what I can comment on is that, growing up, like for me, for example, I would have been that woman. I was the woman that wore hijab like this, with nothing showing, with like loose and, not necessarily a shutter, because like in Shodar, I mean, because I wasn't in Iran, but I still wore like the abaya, and my abaya was always like flowing and didn't have like sparkly things, because we don't want attention to ourselves. But it looked okay. I mean, it still had maybe one color or two colors.
Right.
But I still looked like the most pious woman you will ever meet. But I wasn't really that pious woman. I had to be the pious woman because of the family that I was living with.
So are you saying that if you were pious by choice, that would be fair if we knew?
No, I still think it wouldn't be.
Right.
Because she wasn't the one that contributed to the revolution. Why is she being blamed for something that she didn't contribute to?
Right. And in fact, to be fair, when after the revolution, 100,000 women came out against the forced hijab, that's something that has been erased in Iran from our history. The women came in thousands to protest the forces, and this is not something that people mention in the West, right? So it shows that there was no support for it, and people say it was by choice. And to be fair to a lot of hijabi women, many hijabi women came out in support of their sisters that didn't want to wear the hijab and came and protested the forced hijab, right? So that was pretty nice of them, I think, even though they chose to wear the hijab. I mean, I don't think they should choose to wear the hijab, but the fact that for me, I think like if I do know that somebody is choosing to wear the hijab, I will support their right to do it while trying to break through to them that this is a sign this is a sign of, this stands for oppressing women, right? Like I would fight for the right to wear it. Is that something you guys could relate to?
Yeah, essentially what you're asking us is the whole criticize Islam, not Muslims thing. Like, of course, none of us are going to be happy with Muslims being discriminated against. People could say the same thing. Oh, those people are killing people across the planet every day. Fuck them. We don't care about them. We hate them. So we're going to ignore them when they come in the bank lineup. Of course, we're not going to be supportive of that, right? So there could be reasons why that woman, the bank teller, was angry or whatever, but it's definitely not okay to just be taking it out on people.
Right. Okay. And just to be clear, Am I saying it right? Qada?
Ghada, yes.
Qada, all right. So in Iran, the amount of even people that weren't religious before the Islamic Revolution, they had like, oh, these religious people are holy people, like respect and stuff. But nobody would make a joke about Islam and stuff. But after the revolution, the amount of hate for Islam in Iran is so much. Like the amount of passion people have against Islam and anything Islamic related, at least among the liberal class, is stronger than most anti-Islam people in any Western country. I mean,
That's what happens when you shove something down.
I've
people's throat.
actually noticed that when I went to Iran the 3 times that I was forced to go. I've noticed that in non-religious people, that they really, really hated Islam, and they hated the mullahs, they hated the ayatollahs, they hated all of them. And it's completely the opposite of like when you meet a super religious person, and you usually meet those like when you're in the shrine, like for Imam Riza or Bibi Zainab. You meet those and they're like super religious, and it's kind of weird. Like it's like a dissonance. Like you go out in Tehran and you meet the average Iranian, and they're nothing like the people that are super religious.
Ghada, what was it like in Saudi Arabia? Did you know other when you became an atheist? Did you connect with other atheists? Did you find?
Yeah,
them?
I did. I actually met a lot of them through Twitter, and I dated a guy who was an ex-Muslim. He was a pretty good. He was a nice guy.
So So there's a lot of them there, or?
Oh yes, there's so many. They have their own group that they meet like every now and then, but they're mostly guys. The girls never really join them. But I've met.
Where is this?
In Saudi Arabia, at least in my region, and of course there are several in Riyadh. The friend that showed me the sign for the scientific miracle in the Quran, that was an atheist as well. And I've met so many.
Yeah,
wait, they have ex-Muslims have meetups in Saudi Arabia?
You guys need to listen to the podcast that Ghada and I did with Lalo. She tells us all about these secret atheist meetups that they would have where they're like smoking pot and drinking alcohol.
If anybody all the time, even without the atheism, and people used to.
Without the atheism, yeah, but I mean, we had our own little atheist group, and I've met most of them on Twitter. Like,
isn't that like? Aren't you guys taking a lot of risk by just meeting?
We are, but like, a friend of mine also mentioned about like being active on Twitter when you're in Saudi is, as long as you're not stirring the pot, the government doesn't really care about you. It's when you start gaining a lot of attention, like for example Hamza Kashghari or Ra'af Badawi, or people like that actually get a lot of attention. And when you do get a lot of attention, that's when the government starts looking into you, because they don't want you to influence a lot of people. We were just a bunch of atheists that nobody really gave a shit about, that commented and under pseudonyms on like a bunch of random shit, and all we did was really bitch. And we found each other through that hating on Islam thing, and we bonded over other Muslims telling us that we should die or should get killed or something like that, and we just became friends through that. And I've met several of them, and 2 of them actually helped me leave the country.
Armin, actually, before Twitter and all of that stuff, when I was growing up there, it still used to happen. People somehow used to connect. It was a lot rarer. I assume it's a lot easier now through the internet, but it's in Saudi Arabia there is, I mean, even when we talk about that poll I talk about all the time, where it's 5% are convinced atheists there. That's 1 million population, 20 million.
Yeah, I heard about
that's a shitload.
No, I know about, I heard a lot, I know about the statistics thanks to you, Ali, but I didn't know they had the balls to actually have meetups. And
they did.
If any of you are listening, my respect to you. Like, you guys are on the front lines, and I hope you keep growing. And if any of you find a way to come on our show without giving up your identity, please reach out to us.
Mm-hmm.
I hope someone does, because I remember I've met several people that went to those meetups, and they're pretty nice, pretty cool, educated people.
Somebody is asking in the live chat, how did you get permission to leave Saudi Arabia?
So I would like to not disclose that on live.
Okay.
And some of them are disputing the fact that you were on CNN. Can you tell them all that you were, please?
I was on CNN. Look at my hair. That's me. That was definitely me.
That was awesome.
Unfortunately, like I thought if I didn't show my face, that my family wouldn't find out who I was. Apparently, my hair speaks volumes.
Oh, they knew it was you? They figured it out?
My hair speaks volumes.
Oh,
Get it?
Yeah,
literally.
I got it. I got it. That was good.
Well, you're safe now anyway. So.
Wait, are your family still? Do you have a relationship with them? Are they okay with you? Then?
Definitely not my mother.
Ooh.
But my father is like a weird, very professional type of relationship where he just wants to make sure I'm alive. And then that's it.
So your mom wouldn't speak to you?
My mom speaks to me, but I don't really consider being called names or whatever it is that she does in her emails speaking to me.
Do you think she loves you? Do you think she still loves you?
No, I don't think so.
So
I think she loves the person.
Islam is more powerful than a mother's love for their child.
Always.
For her, yes. For her, for 100% sure. I mean, I wouldn't compare my mother to Yasmin's mother, but she's very close up there.
Fuck Islam, seriously.
She's really, really close. Where she said that to me, like to my face when I was really angry. I remember, like, I can't believe you would put the Prophet above me. Like, of course I would put the Prophet above you. I would put my Prophet above every one of you. And she's talking to us, her kids. And he's like, of course I love him more than I love any of my children. He is more important than any of you. And she pretty much told us, like, you know, you can all go to hell as long as, you know, Imam Hussein, Muhammad Ali, or whatever it is that she loves, Ahl al-Bayt, are, you know, she loves them more than she loves us. And it's one of the reasons. I mean, to her, Islam, she doesn't love me. I think she loves the daughter that she wishes that she had, which is the daughter that is, you know, obedient, probably married already with 3 kids, and super Shia with wearing hijab and, you know, praying with her and whatnot. Like, she wants me to be that daughter. And when she found out that I was not that daughter, that's when our fight started. And it started when I was in high school.
That would break my heart. How did that affect you?
Well, I never had a really good relationship with my mother anyway. She was a very abusive, emotionally abusive woman to me and everybody around her. It wasn't just me. I mean, she was like that with my brother. She was like that with her own brothers, with her own sisters, with her own parents. She is still a very, very narcissistic person who thrives on putting other people down so she can be up. So I knew from the very start that I didn't like my mother. I felt like I was forced to love her because, you know, she's my mother. My father is a whole different story. My father was he's still an amazing guy. I mean, he still like has the mentality of the Arab guy where, you know, his honor's between my legs. But he still instilled in me the love for knowledge. And because of that, because he gave me books on like cosmology, he gave me his book about he wanted me to learn. And the more I learned, the more I read about history, geography, you know, ancient civilization, gods and goddesses and religions, and of course, you know, the cosmos. He was the one that made me want to learn some more. And it was because of him and him instilling in me, you know, the love to read and the love for knowledge, is that I was able to leave religion. And my father was never really a very religious guy. He's more of a secular traditionalist sort of person.
Curiosity always gets in the way of proper brainwashing.
I agree.
Cosmos. If I can tell you how many ex-Muslims have told me,
yes.
Carl Sagan, Cosmos. I mean, I've talked about it a lot.
It wasn't Carl Sagan. It was the cosmos, like the outside world, the space.
Oh, that
like my father,
history.
Yeah. And my father was the first person to teach me about evolution, the theory of evolution. He was the one that, you know, told me about Charles Darwin and what he did. And then he started, you know, pointing out articles and pointing out books and pointing out like, hey, you know, this was found. He told me about Lucy when we went to the the National Science Museum in Chicago. For the first time we were together, he was the first person to ever really even though he doesn't have a formal, well, he kind of has a formal education, but not a degree, as opposed to my mother, who's a medical doctor. He was aeons more knowledgeable and more and much smarter than she was.
Somebody in the Omar is telling me that I'm asking you questions that I shouldn't be asking. Did I?
No, you're okay.
Okay, sorry if I.
No,
Omar,
okay.
Omar, please.
No, it's okay. I mean, I spoke about some of these things when I was in the CU Boulder talk. So I mean, I want people to know my story. And the thing is, I don't say the story because I want people to think of me as a victim, because I'm not living like that anymore. I'm living a very happy and successful life. I'm here in America with a good job, a wonderful boyfriend, and, I'm healthy. So I'm not, but I want to share it because there are so many people back home that are still in the situation that I left, and even worse.
And you want them to see that there's a happy ending if they get themselves
that's
free.
what I want to, yes. And the more I talk, the more, hopefully, that's what I hope, that other parents would realize that what my parents did was wrong. And hopefully they wouldn't do that to their own parents, to their own children.
And even if you could convince one person, that's so worth it, because a lot of people keep saying that, oh, how you really think you're going to change all of Islam and all of Muslims are going to? No, who talked about whoever said that? If you can get one person freed from this dogma, you have saved an entire life. You give them a new world. That makes all of this activism worth it. If just one person makes all of this worth it.
And I agree with you, because
one person, it's like you've saved all of. Okay. Oh crap!
That's
the
Quran.
Yeah, no, sorry.
By the way,
have you returned to Islam?
Oh my God!
That's the verse that right after it says that you should crucify people.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
Right before you say.
No, the thing I was going to say is, at first I thought if I, when I'm doing these talks, and I've done not too many of them, I haven't done a lot. Only recently have I decided to be more out there. One time I was talking to a friend of mine from ex-Muslims of North America, and he said that he was screening a girl, and she mentioned one of the videos that I made kind of gave her the push to finally leave and lead a more, fulfilling life. And that made me extremely happy to know that somebody thought that, hey, if this girl from Saudi Arabia was able to leave her country and her family and come here, and she was able to establish something for herself, maybe I can too.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's actually the key. That's what makes a difference. And that's what, when what, like Armin was saying, when you hear that all the time, you're not going to change people's minds when people believe something they do. That is, if the last 10 years are anything to go by, the kind of messages that I think all of us have gotten from people is like, oh, okay, you helped me after seeing your video or after reading your book, after whatever, we have now been able to take the step. That is, the more that happens, the more it makes all of us want to sort of double down and keep doing this.
And this key thing is normalizing. The more we're out there, the more it becomes normal. And they hear our stories, and they hear, for example, like the extreme stories, like my story or Yasmin's story. And the families, hopefully, the families are not going to suddenly decide to become ex-Muslim, but they see what we went through, and they're like, I love my kid. And even though, he loved the religion or she loved the religion, and she's not, the same, I wouldn't want to treat her the same way this kid's, daughter, this kid's parents treated her. Like, I don't want my kid to hate me the way Ghada hates her mother,
But by the way, Omar wants me to clarify the questions that he was saying that I shouldn't be asking was about the meetups, not about the enemies. So that's
well, I'm not specifying where the meetups are.
Right.
They're in the mosque. I'm kidding, they're not in the mosque.
by the way,
raid the mosques. Go.
Okay, so you said you met a lot of ex-Muslims, right?
Yeah.
Are there also a lot of people that are reformed Muslims?
Yes, those would be the more people that I have met, that I have worked with. Those would be like the people that I partied with.
Right.
Those
So,
are like the
but are they
Muslims.
partying and not following Islam because they read the Quran and try to reinterpret it, or just or they?
Oh fuck no! I don't
Okay.
think any of them even read the Quran or
All right.
did
So
any of that.
let's be clear: they're not reformed Muslims. They're just.
Oh, then I think
Have you met a lot of people that
One.
read the Quran?
one.
Okay. All right. So just to put it in perspective for everybody, you met how many ex-Muslims?
I would say about 10.
10? Okay.
Yeah.
And you met one person that read the Quran and completely reinterpreted the way that makes it seem peaceful.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 to 10. All right, just wanted to get the statistics out there.
But those were like those were atheists, you know, like they just left the religion. They were like super, like they were not just atheists, they were anti-theists. They wanted, well, one of them wasn't, but otherwise.
I think we're all anti-theists.
10 and 1 is not statistically significant, so it doesn't just.
No, I mean,
yeah. But no. I was trying to make a point.
It's not like you can go.
I was trying to make a point, but it doesn't work with the number.
Yeah, we're more Enlightenment people. We'd rather do Voltaire than Martin Luther. Honestly. Well, yeah, why not? It's true. Not Martin Luther. Not Martin Luther King for Trump supporters. We're talking about the original Martin Luther.
There was one person that was asking me on the live chat about what I think about the people that disregard the Hadith. The Quranists. I think they haven't read the Quran themselves. Yeah. If they think that the Quran is going to be better than the Hadith.
I went through that phase. I went through that phase once, but it was sort of like I also went on a diet with just cottage cheese and water. It was a hard day. Right, so
no, the people that think the Hadith is worse than the Quran, like the Quran is the book that tells you that you could have sex with married women as long as you capture them in war against enemies of Allah, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
the Quran is also the book that describes how, what torture you're going to be getting when you're in hell.
Yeah,
in very, very, very detailed ways.
Yeah, and people think that's not significant because it's in the afterlife and not in this life. Imagine if you wrote a book like that about black people, right? If you said like, but let's let black people completely be free in this world. But let me tell you, the people are demons. God is going to punish them. They're cursed. They're evil. God is going to pour lead in their throat. You're like, wow, you're being racist. No, I'm not saying we should do in this world.
Imagine you wrote a book like that. Imagine
God will do that to them. Like,
imagine you wrote a book. There was a book like the Quran. Imagine there was a book that talked about Muslims. The way the Quran talks about non-believers. Just take the Quran and replace all that unbeliever stuff with Muslims.
It would be,
Kair's head would fucking explode.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes of Yali. But
it is a quote. Yeah, you guys memed it.
Yeah, memed it.
I'm getting old.
No, you said this is your better quote. You said like if there was a book like the Quran and you replace Muslims with non-believers, heads would roll.
Heads would
roll.
Literally.
Oh my God.
That's what you said.
So in conclusion, you guys, we are all in supportive of Bill 62 of Quebec's restriction on the niqab or restriction on face coverings in public spaces.
I like it.
Aye. There you go.
All right.
And we're all racist. We want to restrict a niqab as the sexual fetish thing and nothing else beyond that.
Yes.
Just so you know, like when I did try it for the sexual fetish, the guy
you're not the only, I wasn't targeting you at all.
The guy freaked out. He was like, "Please take it off. I'm kidding. I don't want you to put it on anymore."
No, I mean, it doesn't work if it's like, I've seen those weird ones that are half covered and half not covered. That's just fucking weird.
I mean, it's a sexual fetish. There's no logic to this. I know you can't philosophize around this. This is just something that people are like, okay, I don't know why I like that.
But
I'm saying the ones the specific kind that I'm attracted to, it has to be the full thing. It can't be like half. That doesn't work.
Yeah, I tried both. It's still freaky. It's still really, really weird.
Next
I don't
episode,
care how much I love the guy. I would never put that shit on.
Yeah, and I would never demean anybody to even want it. I mean, it's kind of like, oh, my black girlfriend. You know what my fetish is? Shackles.
Yes.
Shackles.
Exactly. Oh my god. Bone in your hair and start dancing, please. Yeah.
That is a good analogy.
Perfect, Armin.
It's visually horrible. Okay.
Right.
That's good. We should. You should bring that up more.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, so even I'm probably gonna get edited out, and people are gonna be like, Armin is fucking racist, but I don't give a shit. I'm already a Nazi apparently, and
Well, you are what, Aryan? You're
That's right.
Iranian, so
okay, but Iranians seriously are fucking racist. Like, you know how many times the Iranians came to me and you're like, oh, Atheist Republic was made by a fellow Aryan brother. I'm so proud. Like, that's what
Aryan Brotherhood.
That is, you know why that's outrageous? It's because they assume your gender. Why would they immediately call you brother?
that's why
That's
why it's
outrageous.
offensive.
Yeah, I know.
And like, yeah, we're so Aryan. That's why we're so fucking hairy and so dark.
Armin. That's just the wrong name. What does kakasea mean?
Huh?
Have you heard the term kakasea in Persian?
Kharkose?
No. Kaka, K-A-K-A.
Kaka means brother.
And then Sia, S-I-Y-A.
Oh, black brother?
Yeah, black brother. Isn't that a derogatory term for
It
South
sounds
Asians?
like a fucking derogatory term. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay, so yeah, I heard that in Iran that's the derogatory term for, you know, like all the Pakistani and Indian Shias who want to be Iranian. Like that's kind of what they call them.
We were told in our school that, you know, Bilal was the first black Muslim, right? That read that. We were told in school that he's such a pure person that when he goes to heaven, his skin will turn white.
Yep.
Well, that was the same thing that they said about John, who was with Imam Hussein in Karbala, that he was a black slave. And he was still, I think he was kind of still a slave even when he went to Karbala. I'm not really sure of that part because they still called him the slave of Badr.
Right.
So
I think he was an Aladdin, wasn't he?
What? No,
That's different.
No, he was definitely a black guy. He was African.
Okay.
And after he died, Imam Hussein said that I see him white in heaven.
White.
Mm.
Oh my God.
Hey, you know what? Do you know that hadith about the funniest one that I've seen is like the virgins in heaven, the huri in heaven. They're so fair that you can see their bone marrow.
Yeah.
Like their skin is actually so fair that it's transparent that you can see their bone marrow.
Ah,
I was like, oh yeah, show me some more of that bone marrow. And, oh yeah, and put a niqab on it. Yes. Armin's day is made.
yeah. Wouldn't you be seeing their guts and their, you know, their blood and what they're eating? And
no, but that means that there were like Sahaba and all of these people like jerking off to images of bone marrow.
You know, this is you know, in Iran, this
like
is how
Halloween was porn or something. It was
So
insane.
now I know what I'm going to be for Halloween. How am I going to
Bone
be
marrow.
white? Bone marrow white.
Oh man.
You know, one time our teacher in school, and this is elementary school, said in heaven everything is perfect, and our farts will smell like, you
Roses?
know, roses,
I
right?
thought,
I heard
you
about
wouldn't even. I thought you would.
You wouldn't fart. Yeah, or you wouldn't go to the
then
bathroom.
The whole class started laughing, right, at how ridiculous this was. And like, look, this is how you make it. Like, these kids know that you're full of shit, right?
Mhm.
Rosy shit, maybe, but still shit. But I don't know. You know, they made us for 12 fucking years in cold in winter and in heat of summer to stand 15 minutes, listen to the Arabic Quran that we had no fucking idea what they were saying. I had to listen to it before we could go inside every single morning. This is how you make kids hate Islam. You make them want, like, when is this Quran over? Right?
I had to do that for 2 hours every morning, Armin.
Oh, fuck.
We should do that to all the regressive leftists.
I agree.
And they'd be like, okay.
All right.
And let's buy.
Imagine
Yes,
imagine the
please.
alt-right people coming in. Imagine the leftists coming and say, okay, let's fuck this Islam, let's ban it. And the alt-right be like, okay, no, calm down. Not that. You're going too far. No,
yeah,
I heard this girl in Iran. She was saying, like, you know what? During the Green Movement, the Green Revolution in Iran, which was this religious movement, you know, and democracy movement that happened in Tehran, this girl came like, you know what? I went and I stabbed a religious person, and you know, and she was so happy. Like, what the fuck? Like, Okay.
You just committed a crime. I don't think I want to be anywhere near you.
Yeah, no, like this is how. But the thing, okay, I'm like, okay, you're scaring me now. Go away. But this is how much hatred from is like people. A lot of people in Iran would want to see these mullahs burn in front of them. That's how passionate they are with their hate for it.
Is it true that Kemal Ataturk did that? Like he took all the mullahs and put them on a ship, and he's like, I want you to come up with, like, when he started out, he's like, okay, I want you guys to come up with a vision and everything for Turkey, and now that we have it. So they all got really happy, all the leadership, and he sent them on a cruise in the Mediterranean. And then when they went out, they were having their conferences, stocked it up with lots of food. Then he blew it up in the middle of the Mediterranean, killed them all in one go. Have you heard that story?
In Iran, something like that happened.
Yes,
Didn't
Iran?
Assad do this? Didn't Assad do this in Syria?
Oh my God, they all do it.
This
Maybe it's a legend that has every country's kind of owned. I don't even know if it's
no.
true.
This is not a legend in Iran. There were 70 of them, and that's I think 72 of them, and they were like, oh, these are just like Karbala, same number of people. But they had a whole everybody that was competing with Khomeini as Imam. They were in one place, had a meeting. Rafsanjani left the room early, and it blew up.
That's why Rafsanjani didn't die that day.
Rafsanjani is responsible for Khamenei. Everybody seems to love Rafsanjani now, but he was the one that suggested he should. He was like, I heard Khomeini said that he should be like nobody else heard him except Rafsanjani. His Rafsanjani.
Sayyid al-Qa'id.
No, Rafsanjani suggested Khamenei for a vote, and Khamenei is in power because of Rafsanjani. I saw the whole video. There's a video footage of that.
Anyway. Okay, guys, this is getting way too Shia.
We went off topic. I just want to say one thing. I love that Ataturk made it compulsory for prostitutes to wear hijab. I thought that was brilliant. Instead of telling people,
did that?
Yeah, instead of telling people you're not allowed to wear hijab, he said prostitutes must wear hijab.
So he made like he was
so
trying to make
regular women not want to wear it. Yeah, because if you wear it, people are going to assume you're a prostitute.
I love it.
Yeah, but honestly, like it's fun to laugh at, but
that's fucked up and clever and
oh God, it's just if it's not one end, then it's the other. It's just crazy.
By the way, we had a huge live chat today. Our live chat was extra live today.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Speaking of which, I gotta go.
Thank you so much, Rada.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Stay in touch. Come back. It's fine.
Yeah, you're a much better host than Faisal. So we'll have.
Oh no, Faisal is an awesome guy. He's the Khalifa. I like him.
Now he's going to get. This is going to get Faisal to come up. He's like, next time I'm coming back. Yeah, that's what Armin wants to do.
And next time Ali is going to be ISIS, and Armin is definitely going to be the leader of the Aryan race movement. Yeah. Definitely.
Yes, we totally want to have you on again as a co-host. This was super fun.
By the way, people in the live chat are saying thanks everyone. Bye Canada.
Bye Canada. What the fuck?
That is not from Canada.
No, because it's saying us. Okay, never mind. But Lala is saying
Canada.
Well, you're saying bye to the three of us, I guess. That's literally hijab porn. Lalo said that because the prostitute comment. Yeah, that's it. That is hijab.
All right.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Oh wait, can we end on this note? This guy, I just got into the chat. Marcus Schober, farting is clear evidence that humankind was not designed by a god. That's it. That's basically. I don't even think we need to ever have another.
Okay,
episode.
nobody needs to buy my book anymore. You just one sentence farting. No god. That's it. All right.
Right. We refuted everything. All right, guys. Bye bye.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.